back to boxing. I'm not going to talk too much about boxing now, because it is what it is. What I want to talk about is something more pressing, and clearly the theme of what happens to be my life, and then connecting to many people that are interested in my life. And it is traveling around making money through a laptop. So I set a goal for myself. I was in the UK in a small apartment. Actually, it wasn't a bad size apartment, to be fair. It really was a high ceiling 2-bed apartment. And I was running my own businesses. And I was always running good businesses. I was never really earning the money I wanted to earn. And if you know anything about our story, of which I won't go into too much detail here, but we had a devastating life event, me and Amy, in 2022. And in June 2022 specifically, we're actually coming up to the anniversary of that this Saturday. So from that point, there was a fire that lit in me, and I was 29 at the time. And something I was telling myself in my mind was, I just need to now figure out this money situation. I need to know how to make money. I'm very experienced, I'm very skilled, I'm very good at what I do. Everywhere I went, I was always a top performer. Someone, if I worked for someone, I was good. If I did something in my own businesses, we were good. We have a very high standard. But I was never really earning the money. And I really started asking myself why. And it became rapidly clear. I never really focused on it. I never really focused on the money. So that's what I started to do. And my goal was to travel, making my money through a laptop. I wanted everything to come through a laptop, so I had the freedom. Because I knew the impact of environment. I'm very connected to that as an extension. And although you can really craft and design an environment to your liking and for your needs, if your environment is in a much bigger environment, like a country, that doesn't really resonate with your values, your energy, it doesn't help support you in your goals, you have to, and I don't use that lightly, you have to get out of it. Like if I am suffering from hay fever because I'm around hay all day and pollen, for me to not suffer anymore, somewhat I have to get out of that environment. And I was suffering from a lack of cash flow, candidly. It was always getting by in one of the most expensive places to live, which is the UK, for the lowest yielding return. So I set the goal to make money through a laptop. And when was that? Really, I started to focus on this in November 2022, the 1st of November actually. And the first thing I did was buy a subscription to, at the time, what was called Hustlers University. So one thing I should address is I was incredibly inspired by Andrew Tate. And when he first came on the scene, for me, I made a judgment, because the internet's full of so many people speaking in a certain light, never really from experience, and not really offering any value. And to be honest, when I first started listening to that guy talk, it was actually other people sharing stuff, sharing clips, or everyone knows the story of Andrew Tate, of like how he rapidly came to the limelight. But long story short, I started listening to him without the judgment after a while. I was like, what's this guy talking about? And I was like, one thing I respected about him, he wasn't cucking to the rules. He was very aware that there was a massive scam going on. He was very aware of that. And I really needed to hear that from someone that had an influence and a following, because I wasn't seeing that. I was speaking it myself. I was helping people understand that they were being scammed. I was focused a lot on looking to understand why people couldn't get their head around what was actually going on. Why they wouldn't, like they couldn't conceptualize or cognitively understand the deep truth of the situation. And of course I'm talking about and I can't even use trigger words on here, but I'm talking about a flu that was rebranded. And when he was speaking about that, it opened up my mind and opened up my ears to what else he had to say. And when he was talking about money, I was like, okay, I understand what this guy is saying now. So what do? It was actually on the loss of an arm wrestling event, believe it or not. I was focused on arm wrestling at the time. I was helping build a league, of which was generating me no money. Another a tendency and a behavior I had of building great things, putting a lot of time and energy into it, yielding no money. It wasn't like I didn't work, it was I was working on the wrong things. I was putting my energy, my hard earned freedom to do what I wanted with my time, into things that weren't yielding me a return. And I knew that had to change. So insert topic that's actually prominent: resistance to invest. There's so much resistance to invest. We are given so much in this internet space for free. You can binge watch unbelievable resources actually for free on YouTube. You can learn pretty much anything you want for free on YouTube and any other place. People are so reluctant to invest. They have investment resistance. One thing that does bug me about that is the speed of which people will use the word scam. A true scam, for clarification, a true scam, if you've ever been truly scammed, is, hey, here's a car I have for sale. You know, a sophisticated story behind selling a car. You invest money into a car and you never get the car. You've been scammed. There was never an intention to send you a car. You've been scammed. You've been conned. You've been tricked. You've been lied to. I've experienced that through Amy. When Amy was truly scammed out of maybe $4 grand. $4 grand to buy a car. And she was hoodwinked and swindled into doing that. That is a real scam. Now, what most people are talking about online, there is scams. Of course, shit comes in your inbox all the time. And it's dodgy stuff and they're looking to fish for your information. But the majority of what most people are doing online, if it's not so great, it's not necessarily a scam. It's a sham, right? It's an absolute shams for what people are trying to achieve. They just can't fulfill on what they're promising. It's a completely different story. But nonetheless, to the point, there is something that stops people from investing in themselves that kicks in their mind that makes them overly skeptical. And in some extent, maybe that's clever, so you're not naively just slinging your money out everywhere. But you've got to be self-aware enough to realize when that gets massively in your way. Massively. Because it's not so much what you get when you invest, it's what happens when you become an investor. It's what happens to you after you've put skin in the game. And that's the biggest thing. As soon as you put some of your own money into the game and you've invested in yourself, you focus. You want a return from it. You want to yield positively something you can net. And when you do that, it enables you to succeed. It gives you the charge, quite literally, of energy that you need to put the work in to succeed. So this is what I want to bring to the forefront, is the people that truly want something different right now. They truly want to experience something different. If they truly want travel freedom, if they truly want to make a serious amount of money, then what would be very helpful is to start investing somewhere. It doesn't have to be a lot. Like I said, my first investment, I was like, okay, I'm gonna subscribe to Hustlers University at the time, which is now, of course, called The Real World. And that, to me, was more than worth it, because it got me over the barrier. It got me over the barrier of where the fear was of investing into things. And it was $49 for a month. And I remember doing that and just being super open-minded to follow to the T the instruction of what was laid out. These people have money, I don't. Let me listen to them. And that catalyst was the journey of where I'm at today. And I'm very, at this stage, I'm not opposed to revealing in more detail in the future some numbers. I don't think it's smart to reveal your specific numbers and tell people what you earn. But what I can say is, I have crushed and surpassed anything that would have been remotely possible for me in the UK, stuck in one location. And not only crushed it, managed to leverage positions where I could do that freely, remotely, to my own terms, and also get Amy to do something similar as well. And it took a lot of hard work, a lot of focus, a lot of mistakes, and learning very quickly. And that process anyone can do, but they have to start with an investment. But if they want to expedite the process, particularly in what I'm quite renowned for, which is cutting to the chase and giving people the honest truth of what it is, not overselling people, I would much rather undersell them and over deliver. I'm not going to tell them it's going to be easy, it's going to be great, it's going to be, you know, oh, you do this 1 2 3, and you know, you see this number chucked around online all the time, but you hit your first 10k a month. No, I'm going to look at you specifically and say, hey, look, you got a lot of skill and talent. It's going to take you X amount of work and mistakes for you to get into this position. Do you want to do this? because it could take 4 times the amount if you did this on your own. It's your choice. Or I could look at someone and go, it's going to take you a while. Your target is doable, but not in the first year, realistically, because of where you're at. I'm going to cut straight to the chase. I'm going to be very honest with people. Everyone I meet right now in Serbia love the idea, you see them light up, of traveling around and earning money through a laptop. And not only, I figured out, because this won't reveal any numbers, I figured out what I earned in a month is more than someone's parents here combined together of what they earned all year in Serbia. So, like my own relationship with my targets, I'm very, very far away from it. But having that conversation with that guy really put into perspective that framing of how that positions me from his perspective and maybe his parents' perspective. They would see maybe that I'm rich, of which mentally, spiritually, physically I am. I don't think financially I'm anywhere remotely close to the targets that I'm going for. But the real intention of me recording this video, the real intention of me being, before boxing, direct and specific about this topic, it starts with an investment. It starts where you can cross the threshold. I say this in what I do. You have to be able to surpass the threshold of investing. You need to pay for something. And if you do stuff for free, you're doing a disservice to people that want to change. There's so many examples that play themselves out over and over again of people that don't invest and don't get anywhere. And some people that do invest, even if it's just £1, I can think of an example in my mind that yields such a greater return from it. So if you're in a position and you do want remote freedom, if you do want to earn more money than you ever have done, if you do want to be in a position where you don't just get up and go to work for the sake of going to work, you really feel like you're giving back. You really feel like you're offering what your natural skills are. You find yourself getting paid for something you have a tendency to do anyway, because you can position yourself correctly. You have to cross the threshold of investment. And I talk about 2 minutes as an example of time in chunks. 2-minute chunks of how your life can change. One of the biggest objections that comes up in what people call sales is I need to think about it, which is a firewall. It's a safety mechanism. It's something people say because they're unfamiliar with what they're about to do. They're not used to that, so they think they need to think about it. But often when they say that, it is a smokescreen. It's a smokescreen for them to go, in translation, this feels really real now. Something in me is kicking in, and I need to think about this, meaning I need time to go away and see how I feel. Although they might have spent the last 40 minutes saying, this is exactly what I want to do, this is exactly what I need, this is exactly what I've been looking for, I would love to do this, I absolutely believe I would crush it here, because I will show up committed. And as soon as you get into that transaction, fear and anxiety kicks in. And it should do, because you're doing something new. You're doing something that is about to reap great change for you. But here's the difference. Those that continue to think don't act. They don't act. We see that all the time. Anyone that leaves that call without any threshold crossed, even if that's just $100, just $100, they don't cross that threshold, they get stuck in the same psychological loops and patterns of what they've been doing, which is thinking about it. It's not uncommon for me to speak to people that, and there was a guy I spoke to yesterday, in fact, he's been thinking about working remote and doing something that he described as important for the last 7 or 8 years. 7 or 8 years is fucking a long time. So crossing that threshold is important, and you start wherever you can start, but you have to be able to do it, because if you don't, you're a thinker, and people that think about things are sometimes the most deluded people who you come in encounter with, because they think they've got experience because they've thought about it a lot or they've studied it a lot, but they've never actually done anything. When you can get someone that's taking action, and you're in a vastly different situation. So if you do feel sales resistance, investment resistance towards something that you know you can help, that's normal. But if you overcome it in, like I say, 2-minute steps, a lot happens in 2 minutes. Hold your breath for 2 minutes. You stop thinking. Here's an invitation. As more and more of these videos come out, you will see a link in my description, and as I speak about the 2-minute rule, the 2-minute rule is on that page. It's on there. You have an unbelievable opportunity within 2 minutes to change your life, one decision and one step at a time. And if you can't do that in 2 minutes, you just will just continue to do what you're doing. And that's okay, if you're okay with that. But if you're not, and you want change, and you can't do something in 2 minutes, then you fucking deserve to be where you're at. You deserve to stay where you are. So in every video I do, there should always be a link underneath here that takes you to a page to take action. It doesn't take any payment. The only pay it requires is your attention for 2 minutes. And if you fill that out, you've taken a step. And if you keep taking small steps over a long period of time, like when I started in 2000, really when I started to take money seriously in 2022, in November, when you start to take it seriously, everything changed for me in, I would say, in the first year. And now it continues to compound and exceed my expectations. The more I focus, the more I work, the more opportunity I get, the more leverage I have to help other people. So the question is, do you think about this? Or do you act on it? As I sweat in this un-air conditioned car right now, before I do boxing. The choice is yours, people. Do what you like. But take accountability for your actions. So, I've got a little bit of time to kill here. And one of the things I want to do is go and get Amy a little gym bum bag, because I know there's nothing worse, particularly in the gym. I hate having too much stuff on me, but is the carrying shit around feeling, and being lumped with loads of different things in your hand and even in your pocket. It gets super annoying. So I use a little, you could call a fanny pack, and I'm going to go and see if I can get Amy one before boxing. I might be cutting it fine for time because I don't have the electric scooter right now. So the electric scooter I was actually trialing and borrowing gracefully, although it had 2 flat tires, it gave me a good enough experience to know whether I really wanted an electric scooter. And I'm torn between a scooter and a bike. I think I spoke about this before. The one thing I do know, in a place that's built up, that's really, really hard to park, it's a game changer, because you can park up somewhere that's maybe a couple of miles away, and on a typical walking pace, and I'm walking quite fast now, you can quarter that time on a scooter, which is important to save time. So I definitely want to get one, but I don't have one right now. But when I do get these moments, this is more introspection. When I have these moments and I'm wandering around, I'm kind of, as you can see, taking in all surroundings because I haven't walked down here yet. But it does give me the opportunity to reflect on what I was speaking about. Like, my day on a Tuesday right now is killing a little bit of time before boxing. So before I'm about to go boxing, in an old bomb shelter in Serbia, in Novi Sad, I'm wandering around the streets in the morning, the weather's good, looking for the Nike store where I can hopefully purchase Amy a little fanny pack. I'm going to make sure I'm going the right way. Yeah. So, perspective. My Tuesdays haven't always been this liberating and free. I have the luxury to go and spend some money right now. And I remember, because I don't forget, what it felt like to not be able to afford my phone bill at times, which was fucking crazy. And with things in, I'll stay this side, with things in the UK, even reducing down my bill cost as much as humanly possible. And if you know anything about me, which is all public on YouTube, you know that I didn't just bend over to the system over there in the UK for so many reasons, but still, just the extortionate price for what is actually inferior in service and inferior in product became just unbearable, really. But some of my Tuesdays were definitely way different. I mean, I've worked at McDonald's, which I, to this day, being around many different levels of business owner, being around many different types of companies, being around rich, broke people. I haven't been around a billionaire directly yet, but I'm one individual away. Very closely one individual away to a billionaire. So, like, the journey is that you continue to move up the levels and you get closer and closer to more people. But what I know is, even me working at McDonald's, which would seem, you know, like the lowest skilled job and you don't make a lot of money, when you think about it like that, okay, that's what you get from it. But when you see it from an entrepreneurship, a systemization standpoint, there's so many benefits to having experience working in a company like that, especially if you want to build something similar. There's so many benefits. But to my point, I didn't enjoy getting up in the morning and having to go to McDonald's, really. And construction, I definitely didn't enjoy having to get up in the morning in the cold to lump around fucking heavy bags of cement and plaster. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't feel fulfilled. There's great honour in those trades. I believe that. I think there's a lot of good people in those trades. I think most of them are fucking numpties, to be honest. Most of them are fucking idiots. That's why they end up in construction. But the people that are making money in construction, truly, honourably, and they're good at what they do, they're fucking artists. I mean, even when you travel around Eastern Europe, different story, different conversation altogether of like how some of the architecture was built, but you respect it, you know. That's important. But my Tuesdays are way different. Way different. And the freedom I have right now to experience Tuesdays in the way I do was earned. Was hard earned. Through what most people would call risk. Some people call that risk. Oh yeah, but you took risks. Well, you could say that. I definitely have. It'd be ignorant for me to say no, I didn't do that. But the biggest risk, as much as a cheesy line this starts to sound like, is staying where the fuck you are. Is doing what you're doing. That's the biggest risk. Because the options you have is to do what you know. So you always stay where you are. And then the alternative is, if you go beyond that and you enter into something that's unknown, you can achieve things that you don't currently have. And you don't even need to see that financially. You can see that like going to a boxing gym. You know, go to a boxing gym. Be in a position where you're constantly exploring unknown territory. Go to a dog park where the dogs are in there and you're exploring unknown territory. But the reality is, for me, it's like it's embracing the unknown. And I spoke to Amy about this when we were driving to Belgrade the other week. I said, when you don't know what it exactly looks like, but you still go for it anyway, that's what creates a real leader. That's what creates this sense of, how can I describe that? Innovation. That's what creates people that carve the way. I don't know exactly what it looks like, but I'm courageous enough to fucking do it anyway, because I know what it looks like if I stay where I'm at. And the biggest sense of pain, which correlates to the most common given advice to people on their deathbed, is regret. I regret not doing X. I regret not doing Y. I have regret. So you can take what you will from it. You can ignore it, but only for so long, because God will show you in some way, in discomfort. Sometimes that discomfort is near-death experiences. Sometimes it is death. But either way, you will be shown. And the question to ask yourself is, how loud and painful does the message have to get before you do something about it? Because there's always signals. There's always signals in advance. And if you listen to them and take action on them, it's a universal law. You will be rewarded for it. I'm going to go to the boxing gym, and I'm cutting it fine for time. I'm going to have to run there. I'm going to go to this boxing gym, and if we do sparring today, which I'm not too sure, I definitely got it's on the agenda, my rib is fucked. I might be in a shit ton of pain here. And that pain and that suffering and that sacrifice provides me so much more in return. And it's almost instantaneous. You almost feel it immediately. Just the sense of reward. The true sense of reward when you get out of the gym, knowing you've done it. So, with that being said, there's the traffic here. I'm aiming to go forward up there. Hello! I'm aiming to go forward up there, so... I'm trying to think where it is taking me, because I know what's up there. It says there's a Nike store. But I might be better off going in this shopping mall. But like I said, I am cutting it fine right now. Super fine. Should come out quite clear, this footage as well, so you're getting, I think one of the most valuable things for me using YouTube is, before we're looking at potentially the next place, I will YouTube it and see who has brought a camera around the area, who's done maybe a walking tour. How'd you get a real sense of the vibe and the energy? And hopefully I can do that here. I think this somewhat shopping centre here could be my best bet. I'm gonna see if I can go in this way. Oh, I got 15 minutes, mate. Shit. How do I get in there? I ain't gonna make it. I have literally got to sprint back. This is what I'm saying about a scooter. A scooter changes everything. Oh, wait there. If I can pull this off though, I'll be a fucking hero. Okay. Man, if only I had a little bit more time. Okay. Okay, let's see. Well, that was a fail. Not only no bag, I'm cutting it super fine for boxing, but let me see where my cardio is at in this heat. I'm gonna go the same way I came, just so I don't complicate it. And I have under 10 minutes to get there. confused. I'm not going to film this whole thing because it's going to slow me down. See if I make it. We got 3 minutes to spare, which is good going. No fanny pack. So Amy, jeez, when you watch this, just know I tried. And now, oh shit, dead hedgehog. To no avail. Now, you're going to see how much that backfired. Doing this boxing session now. It's a whole different ball game when you're running barefoot. Whew. Yep. Oh, nice. Nice shot. Kid there playing basketball. Alright. Oh, that's a great song. What is that? Let's see, you got blood? Or fruit juice? Oh, it looks like it could be a berry.